You're listening to the Therapists to Millions podcast, where we get under the skin and into the brains of the world's leading therapists with Dr. Susan Spicer and myself, Damien Mark Smith, as we delve into the world of all kinds of effective therapies with fascinating and challenging cases, plus marketing tips and what's really working in mental health right now. Hello and welcome to the Therapists to Millions, where we get under the skin and into the brains of the leading therapists all around the world. And today, all the way from the US of A, we have Rebecca Guidera, who is a Boulder, Colorado-based somatic therapist and coach. She is trained in perinatal mental health, EMDR, and somatic sex therapy training for counselors, and she supports her clients with compassion, directness, and playfulness, and their connection with body image, sexual and gender identities, intimacy, and relational dynamics through liminality. I have to say that really slowly. Liminality, which we're going to dig into with Rebecca in a second, which means the transition from one place to the next. Rebecca, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here.
Liminality. I can even just say it. Tell us a little bit about liminality.
You're not the only one.
Liminality.
Yes.
So tell us about how you came to be doing what you're doing, because obviously there's quite a broad, range of things you're doing there. And what's your background? What's your story?
Yeah. So I do wear a lot of hats in my work. So I work a lot with clients around like body awareness, sensations, breath work. I love talking with clients about sex, queerness, relationships, intimacy, pleasure, just anything across the board in that regard. And I came into this work as a somatic psychotherapist because as a child, I found the most healing to be in my body. I was very active as a child. I did a lot of things, dancing, swimming, running, playing outside, all the kind of fun stuff. And I enjoyed the presence that I had in being in my body as a child, the ability to just show up and move and play and explore. And at the same time, my body was also the greatest place of challenge for me, between navigating shyness as a child and having trouble making friends, between seeing my parents' relationships start to fall apart as a young child and navigating my own sensitivity to the world. I found my body to be also the place where I felt the most pain. I've navigated an eating disorder in the past. I've navigated previous self-harm. I've navigated just a general dislike around my body image. And so the place that I found the most healing became the place that was also the most trouble. And that through my own therapy, through healing and community and relationships, through building my own yoga practice and learning to take care of my heart, I began to find peace within my body, to simply be in relationship with my body and love who I am in this physical form, to find movement as a way to connect to my own collaboration with myself, my own creativity, my own playfulness again, to have intimacy with others from a place of consent and boundaries and connection. And this deep joy that I found in being able to connect with my body has been my primary focus with how I want to show up with clients, to share that our bodies can actually be a deep place of pleasure and joy and aliveness, and a way that we can show up fully as ourselves, both being ourselves in a relationship. So I love what I do with clients. I love getting to support clients around their bodies and connecting with them through all the ways. And I feel so grateful for the work that I do.
I love that. That's so cool. I know the last session that I talked with Tony Byrne about meditation and about getting that joyful place inside of you and calling it the magic feeling, and actually connecting with that magic feeling and just like meditating on that magic feeling. And when you start to do that and practice on it, you can actually like create it at will. It's really lovely. It's very pleasurable as well. Tell us a little bit about liminality. What is liminality?
Yes. So I've been in private practice since June of 2022, and I was waffling between all these different names. And wasn't quite feeling the right fit, the magic feeling, if you will, of like what I wanted to represent in my business. And my partner wrote me a card that included the word liminality, and he wrote the space in between. And I love the feeling of that word. I noticed that with therapy and with coaching, we're here because we're in between something that's not working for anymore and something that we're learning how to step into, which is the present moment. And so for me, liminality means the ability to be right here in this moment, to grieve, to process, to let go, to celebrate, to be excited, to heal, all of that coming from being in this moment right now. And how many times in our lives have we been through different transitions where we're kind of in that space between like one job to the next, or one relationship to the next, or one life transition to the next? And I wanted to honor that space in between and to celebrate it, to feel joyful about it, to get creative with it. And that's my intention with clients, is to be like, let's be in the space in between with so much curiosity and profound respect to the process. And so liminality for me is just being here in this moment as we're navigating the in between of all of life's transitions.
I love that. What a great. And so is the word itself, is that something you created?
No, it is the actual word. You
Isn't
probably
it?
have heard the phrase liminal space. That's the more common phrasing of it. But I looked it up and saw that it was a real word and was like, this feels really good in my body. I feel excited. Most people have no idea what this word means. And so I'm excited to talk about that. And so, yeah, it's a real word, and one that feels exciting to like talk more with clients and folks about and share the intention behind it.
I love that. Yeah, it reminds me, I'm actually running a workshop this week. I haven't done one for years, actually. But I'm running one for a country, for a company, local company. And I talk about the space in between thoughts, and about focusing on that space, and about the awareness of that space between thoughts, and that connection to the creator of thought, not of creator of thoughts, because they come through us, but the creator of thought, of the power of thought. You know, it's like because when we're not here, the power of the potential of thought and consciousness still exists. So it's kind of getting that deep connection to that kind of creational space. So I love liminality. I'm going to have to use as a description. It's like, this comes from Rebecca Guidera, and she's actually created it, but it's actually a word. This is what it is. That's absolutely brilliant. So give us some examples of some success stories that you've not using hypotheticals. Don't want to use any names or anything. So
yeah, so it was interesting, and thinking of this, I recognize that one of my greatest challenges has become one of my greatest successes personally, which has been trusting myself. I think going into therapy, I remember feeling that I needed to fit a certain box, like working long hours, working with many clients in a row in a day, working with topics that I wasn't super passionate about. And all of this came from this idea that I wasn't quote unquote good enough, that my gifts as a person were not welcome as a therapist and as a person. And slowly over time, and especially stepping into private practice, one of the biggest challenges was beginning to trust myself and to set up boundaries around the logistics, my rates, my time, my energy, set up boundaries around what I wanted to focus on to get a little bit more specific of what made me feel alive. And through that, I began to draw upon the trust of my own gifts, my sensitivity, my excitement in talking about sex, pleasure, relationships, my own queerness, my own heart. And through that, I've noticed how my practice has grown simply by showing up as myself, to not try to fit into a box of what I feel like I should be as a therapist, as a coach, as a person, but to be here and say, this is me. If it works for you, that's wonderful. If it doesn't, that's okay. And I love this play with the idea that something that can be our greatest challenge or difficulty can suddenly become our greatest asset and way of healing.
I love that. That's so cool. Give us an example of like a very interesting or unusual case that you've dealt with.
Yeah. So one of the things I've noticed, and especially recently, is a lot around our our being like the stuff that I've worked through personally and what I'm seeing through clients, like queer phobia, like LGBTQ plus, like sense of I can show up with only some of myself but not all, or I can't show up with this part of myself. And how pervasive it has been to my clients, to what I see on a more kind of larger scale. And it's so interesting, like the space of healing, of just being like, thank you for sharing that with me. I see you in that part of yourself. And I know it's not like super flashy and extravagant, but I just want to speak to that level of hiding to protect ourselves or keep ourselves safe, or because we don't feel like that part is worthy enough of showing up, that a tremendous amount of healing can come from just allowing ourselves to step into that part, in this case, our own queerness, and to be able to say like, yes, this is me. This is a part of who I am. And for me as a therapist, as a coach, to be like, I see you in that. I welcome you in that. And I appreciate you bringing that to the space. And there's something so simple and profound of acknowledging that and kind of taking in like, whoa, somebody sees me in that. Somebody's recognizing that that part is here. That feels like it opens the door to other realms of healing, other parts for healing, other spaces to show up fully as yourself. So for me, I feel like that's one of the greatest successes in my work. One of the things that I live for is for people to show up with themselves and be like, yeah, I'm here. This is me.
I love
And
that.
it's welcomed.
Like uncovering authenticity.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
Mm.
And it can be anything around authenticity. I'd speak about queerness in particular because that's been what's been alive in my work. But yeah, authenticity, when we allow ourselves to step into that, it can be like the greatest relief. Like, oh,
Absolutely.
yes, I'm here.
So, on the back of that, how do you look after your own mental health and well-being?
Therapy, therapy, therapy. Which is seems kind of obvious, but I would not be where I am today without the support of the amazing women that I've worked with in a therapeutic container. I have learned so much about myself and feel so grateful for the support, the guidance, and the relationships that I've had through my therapist. Movement is something that has always been a deep part of my healing. It's shifted now where it's a little bit slower, more yoga based, walking, dancing, although dancing, of course, can sometimes be quite quick and fun and playful. It's all about a place to come back home to within my movement practices, to relieve any sort of excess thinking and come back into my body, to connect to something greater than myself with going on walks and being in nature, to have a space to be playful and relationship oriented and creative. I find movement to be such an important part of my overall mental health and emotional, spiritual health as well. I really, really take care of my body in so many ways. As I was thinking about it, I'm like, wow, there's quite a list of the things that I do every day to take care of my body. And it's simple, like drinking enough water is simple, or getting enough sleep is simple, but all those things add up to take care of this beautiful vessel that I get to have for a limited time. And relationships, community, being able to have intimacy, my close friendships, being a part of something greater in community, and being able to share with another is such an important part of how I take care of myself.
Yeah, that's so important, that isn't it? And especially if you've got both relationships and also, professional, relationships as well. I think that's really powerful. And Boulder, Colorado, am I right in thinking that that's like an outdoor experience place? People go there and they can do like, walking and climbing and all sorts of, and you can do skiing there in the winter as well. Is that right? Yeah.
Absolutely. Boulder is
Sounds like
like
heaven.
a outdoor playground.
You've gone
Yes,
to heaven.
yes.
Sounds like heaven.
Hey, I'll take it.
It's amazing. I'm from Northampton. We don't get skiing in Northampton.
Well, please come over anytime. Like the weather is beautiful. You have all sorts of activities any season that you want.
Wow. Honestly, it sounds amazing. I think we're going to be planning a trip there soon. Right. So tell me a little bit about your marketing techniques to grow your practice.
hmm Similarly to my greatest success, I would say trusting yourself has been my biggest lesson in marketing. And that being as technical as trusting the message that I have to offer, trusting the rate that I'm charging, trusting the hours that I create, the way in which I do my practice, to the more emotional side of things of how I show up as myself, the topics that I want to pursue, the clientele that I want to work with. I've noticed that as I've shifted from the space of not being good enough, quote unquote, to being able to trust my offerings, who I am, what I want to focus on with clients, who I want to serve, that it's created a niche that has been really supportive and has helped my practice grow, because I'm not trying to be everything for everyone. I'm not trying to make myself into somebody that's just not me, but I'm able to meet the clients that are like, oh, that resonates for me. Oh, that's the person I want to work with. These are the things that I want to talk about. And that trust within all of the spaces of a private practice has really helped me grow my business in a sustainable and supportive way, and has created a work-life balance that I haven't experienced before throughout my working history. So that's been my biggest success within marketing, is being able to just trust what I have to offer and the creation of that.
Fantastic. Do you actually use any specific platforms?
It's interesting. I use social media quite a bit. So I use like Instagram for social marketing. I use a little bit with Facebook and LinkedIn. I found a lot of success with Psychology Today. I love their platform. I think they're very user friendly. And then interestingly, like one of my biggest successes in terms of marketing has actually been, relationships with my clients and with other professionals in the field. I feel like there's a little bit more intimacy with that. And I think one of the biggest compliments that a person can receive is when a client's like, I like you so much that I want to refer my friend to you or this colleague to you. And that's been like such a sweet part of my journey. And so the ability to build intimate relationships and show up genuinely in that, I find to be one of the best marketing tools, because you're not trying to do anything flashy or extravagant or create a persona. You're just showing up and saying, hey, this is me. This is what I have to offer. And it opens up from there.
I love that. And obviously, we'll share the link to your sites and your social media, but your website's lovely as well, by the way, just so you know.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. A friend of mine designed it, and I'm forever grateful for him.
It's wonderful. So let's talk about books for a minute. Let's actually start with, what's your favorite therapy book and why?
This is a hard question. There's so many good therapy books out there. One of my favorites right now is called Polysecure by Jessica Fern. Have you heard of this book before?
What's it called? A Polysecure?
Polysecure, yes.
No,
So
I
it's
haven't. No.
about, it's lovely. It's about attachment trauma and non-monogamy. I found it to be one of the best books on attachment, regardless of your relationship style, that I've ever read. It was comprehensive, it was strengths-based, and it really highlighted the wisdom behind each attachment style and what they're pursuing within themselves and within relationship. And to have the trauma component tied in was really validating. And for folks that are navigating consensual non-monogamy, polyamory, open relationships, it's a really lovely book to start to understand your own attachment styles and how to bring that awareness into your relationship. So I find her writing absolutely lovely. The book was, dense, but so rich in information. So I cannot recommend it enough.
Wow. Okay. We'll put the link to that in the show notes. And what's your favorite non-therapy book and why?
Yeah, this is also a hard question. The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Um, I when I first read it, a friend of mine gave it to me, and I was in a place in my life where I was in the liminality. I was in the space in between. I was grieving some pieces that I was hoping to have unfold that wasn't the case. And it took me a while to really understand and receive the message internally. And now it's become one of my favorite books in terms of just being able to believe in yourself and come back to yourself. So if you haven't read it before, I highly recommend.
100%. And it's technically really a little bit of a therapy book as well, I think, isn't it really? It's such a great book.
I know. It's interesting how it's fiction, but it feels more like a therapy book than anything else.
Now, on the subject of books, are you writing a book? Have you written a book? What would or is the title? And when's it coming out?
Oh my gosh, it is in the process. I was so excited about this. So my book title would be Pleasure, and the subtitle of that book would be The Empowerment of Living in Fullness, Expansion, and Sensuality. So I came up with this title, this idea around pleasure, actually very recently in a yoga class. I was in person taking this like hot, sweaty, beautiful practice, and the word pleasure kept coming up in my mind. And I was very curious about what was going on with that. And as I've reflected upon it more, I've noticed that throughout the course of my life, I've always enjoyed talking about sex, intimacy, and relationships. I was often the go-to person in my friend group to be like, hey, I'm having this relationship challenge, or I'm navigating this thing with my partner around sex, or I'm struggling with this thing within myself. And I felt so alive in those moments talking about these topics. I actually was so interested in this. I started working at a sex shop when I was in my early 20s, which is a story for another time. But needless to say, I enjoyed these topics and how much it brought out a person's creativity, aliveness, flow, sensuality, and sense of self. And I didn't have like a sense of like what it all meant together. Like I knew I loved these topics, but I was like, what is it about all these topics that I'm like drawn to? And as I reflected upon the word pleasure, I was like, that's it. Pleasure is all about being in this moment right now. It's all about experiencing the joys out of life. It's all about being able to navigate those uncomfortable conversations and moments in order to seek connection and intimacy. And so for me, pleasure has shown up as a way of going into what it means to find healing within ourselves, or what it means to connect with sex and intimacy from an embodied place, what it means to lead your business from a place of joy. So for me, it's like that's the umbrella, and everything else kind of fits into that space of how we orient back to pleasure.
I love that. That's brilliant. Well, listen, I can't wait for that book to come out. I'm getting it.
You'll be the first to know.
I'll be the first to get it. Fantastic. And on the back of that, what is your top tip for mental health in the world today?
Yeah, my top tip for mental health in the world today is coming back into this moment. I found this interesting piece of information that I have no idea where it came from initially, But I remember hearing about laughter being what helps us come back into the present moment.
Yep.
And there's a lot of science behind it, the actual like study of laughter gelotology, if you're ever interested, and how it affects our brain in terms of being in our bodies, navigating our senses, connecting in relationship. And for me, what I've noticed with laughter and really branching that out into pleasure and presence, joy, creativity, curiosity, is that when we come back to this moment, that's where the real healing begins, whether it's within ourselves and our relationship and our community, through self-care, through grieving, through celebrating all that we are. I find that the greatest thing that a person can do is come back into this moment to be able to feel what's happening right now, even when it's messy and complicated and challenging, because that's where the real work begins. That's where the real tapping into ourself begins. And so I think that's what's been most helpful for me, and what I hope to offer to clients and for anyone listening is the power of coming back into this moment, the power of pleasure.
I love that. So powerful. Okay, now
Thank
tell
you.
us a fact that blows our mind, or tell us a joke that's one of a kind, and win yourself an exclusive. Have one here. Therapists to Millions. Anyone who's watching on the YouTube channel, exclusive Therapists to Millions t-shirt. They're actually really nice.
Oh, that's lovely.
So we just asked that you model it for us and send us a picture to go on our gallery. So what's it going to be, a fact or a joke?
Oh my goodness. I have the cheesiest joke for you. We'll
Excellent.
see if it lands
Love
me the shirt. Okay, it's gonna sound like more of a pickup line, but I swear I'm not trying to pick you up or anything. So what do polar bears and I have in common?
Don't know. What do they have in common?
We both know how to break the ice.
Brilliant.
Cheesy, I know.
I love it. It's cheesy,
it's
but
so
good.
cute that it's yes, exactly. Not one of the best jokes out there, but I find it to be one of my favorite ones to
Excellent.
share with people. Yes.
We've created this follow-up sequence. It's like an autoresponder sequence, and we just decided to put a joke in every single one. And that's the bit that everyone's like coming back going, oh well, I can't wait for the next joke.
Oh.
So nothing about the content of the email. It's just all about the joke.
It's always funny what people pick up on. It's like it's always the thing that you don't expect, and you're like, okay, that's great. Glad that resonated for you. Yeah.
Now, Rebecca, how can people get hold of you if they would like you to speak with you about therapy, or maybe your book even?
Yes. So my email is a great one. It's liminality, which I know is a word mouthful for sure. .counseling@gmail.com. You can also go to my website, rebeccaguidera.com. And then my IG handle is rebecca.guidera.
Fantastic. Listen, we're going to put all of those connections into the show notes for people to click on and get in contact with you. And just so you know, if you'd like to appear on the show, not only do you get the chance to win a exclusive Therapist to Millions t-shirt, but as a guest, you didn't even know this, but as a guest, you get 3 months free access to our pro membership. So we'll be giving you the code for that, and you can access all of the materials in there, including how to write a best-selling book. It's all in there. So Rebecca, thank you so much for taking part on the show, and congratulations for your getting your 3 months free membership and your t-shirt. So if you'd like to appear on the show, just drop us an email. Damien with 2 A's, as my partner keeps telling me. It hasn't got 1 A, it's got 2. DAMIAN, 2 A's, at therapisttomillions.com. Let us know if you would like to appear in the show, and we can arrange that. Thanks so much once again for taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us on the show.
Thank you so much, Damien. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it so much. Okay, we will see you soon. Take care.
Take care. Have a good one.
Thank you. Cheers, Rebecca. Oh, by the way, I'll send you a quick email with the code for the membership, and also if you could just give us your address, and I'll send you the t-shirt.
Fabulous. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Brilliant. I really appreciate you as well, because that was a really good interview and really enjoyed that.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I
Write that
loved
book.
your
I can't wait for that
questions.
book. That's going to be brilliant. That's going to be such a good book. I'm going to check out
Thank you.
Polysecure as well.
Yeah, I'm so excited to hear what you think. And thank you. I'm delighted to write the book. I so appreciate my time with you today. It's been just so much fun to be here.
Brilliant. Take care. Have a good day. Bye,
You
Rebecca.
too. Bye.
If you would like to take part as a guest on the Therapist to Millions podcast, simply head over to therapisttomillions.com and reach out to support and let us know. All the guests on the show will get 3 months free access to the pro version of the Therapist to Millions membership, plus a chance to win an exclusive Therapist to Millions t-shirt. And if you would like to know how to write a best-selling book, secure a TEDx talk, create membership sites, lead magnets, client acquisition funnels, podcasts, and way more besides, why not head over to therapisttomillions.com/pro and join our community for just $37 per month, and you can cancel at any time.